You know, I should just record this video in full, and then what I'll do is I'll just cut off the end of it to take out various minutes and then sell them back as season passes, because, you know, that's a great way to do things and people would definitely enjoy that all the time, especially in gaming. Something real quick before I start the video. Recently hit 300 subscribers on this channel, so thank you very much for that, for anyone who stuck around. Really appreciate the support. Anyway, back to the video. So we've got the latest attempt at a live service game in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and the reviews aren't great, and turns out Warner Brothers aren't really too pleased with the performance. But it's really reaffirmed something to me, and that is that live service games suck. Who'd have thought, huh? And it's very rare that they are actually good, well done games. But I feel that Kill the Justice League is quite a sad case because Rocksteady have spent years on the game. I mean, their last game was Arkham Knight in 2015, 2016. And now the legacy of the Arkham games is ruined a little bit because it's the last performance that they can have with Kevin Conroy as Batman, and it's an evil version of Batman that they kill off. And there's no way they could have known that, and there's no way really to go back on that now. And the second reason that I find this particularly sad is I can't say for sure that this will happen, but because it's a game that's been in development for so long and then proceeded to not sell very well, I feel like we're going to get some kind of announcement from Rocksteady later this year that there's going to be a round of layoffs because games are so expensive to make now, and it's very hard to make that profit back if it's lost. And I really hope that's not the case, because I'm sure that Rocksteady probably had a great idea for a co-op shooter or some kind of game that has a little more story behind it, but I get the sense that the live service elements of the game is probably something that Warner Brothers forced them to have, because Warner Brothers have been awful at trying to do that the last few years. And this definitely isn't the first case of a publisher trying to screw over a dev to create a live service. Sony have been demanding live service games from numerous studios. Naughty Dog in particular were trying to make some kind of live service focused multiplayer game, and in fairness to them, they said that they weren't going to do that because it would take all the studio resources, which fair play to them. But I'm sick of live service games because they so rarely work, and the ones who suffer for it are the studios who make the games. Not the players, not the publishers, it's the studios, because they're the ones who are going to get closed down. In the case of Rocksteady, their reputation has kind of been ruined because they probably had a mandate from their publisher to say, hey, we want a couple of seasons of content out of this, and they had to try and work around that. And especially in the case of something like Kill the Justice League, they charged full price for a game that you know you're not getting all the content for. That's why these full price games just don't work. It's very obvious that the product has been made with parts of it cut out to sell back to the player, and it just does not work these days. At least with something like Fortnite or Apex Legends, or even Helldivers, which has recently come out, that costs $40 or euros. Much more affordable compared to a full price game. And in the case of Fortnite or Apex Legends, it's free to install. That's fine. People are willing to spend a little bit of money then when the game is free and they get a couple of hours of content out of it. But paying $70 or euros upfront, no, just doesn't work. Remember Evolve? Was it 3 or 4 players versus a 1 player? One person played as a monster. Back in like 2015, I bought that and I'm still mad about it. It's just sitting there in my Steam library. I paid €60 for it. I played like 18 hours of it, which, fair enough, I got 18 hours of gameplay out of it. But I'm still mad about it because I didn't feel that stupid live service element gave me satisfaction in the game. And then it went free to play, and that just made me even more annoyed. All these attempts from publishers to just maximize output of money from players just is so obvious, to try and pay full price for a game, to try and pay for season passes, for skins, everything like that. It's consistent revenue that just does not work. They need to learn to sacrifice on that upfront payment somewhere. Either don't charge full price for the game, sell it at like 20, 30 euros or dollars, and then people might be a little more easygoing in terms of getting into a game. Or if you're going to do that, provide at least a full experience instead of like clearly cutting out segments of the game and then charging the player to play those cut out segments. And obviously, companies need to make money. I'm not against that. I understand this is all a business and that, businesses have to make money. That's fine. But the thing that really annoys me is that when these mandates that are so hard to follow for developers come from these publishers, and then the result is that the developers get shut down, the developers have layoffs, the developers have their reputations ruined because of these mandates and notes from publishers that have basically caused them to make a game that doesn't agree with players because they're just looking for money. That's the point that just really annoys me. And in my opinion, the live service model is kind of a crappy way to play a game because, say, I mentioned something like Evolve or Kill the Justice League or the Avengers game or Fallout 76 or Anthem. All of these games, the publishers want you to just be engaged with the game constantly and forever and to keep the game going forever and ever. And that's just not really how it works. I can only speak for myself here, but I know that when I play a game, I'll play it for a certain amount of time and then I'll move on. I have like 80 hours in Halo Infinite and I feel I got my value out of that, and I think I've paid for 2 or 3 season passes. I now have no real interest in diving back into that game at the moment because I want to move on and play new games. And I think this idea of just trying to keep this forever ongoing stream of revenue just works so rarely. All these games that have live service elements where the publisher and the developer are saying that they want you to engage with it forever, it's not really realistic. People move on and they play new games. The newest game comes out, a new live service game comes out, and people move on. And I think publishers really need to move on from this idea of trying to force live service elements into games to create this consistent stream of revenue, because in the case of the latest attempts at it, it just doesn't work and it just blows up in their face and screws over the studio. And I really am sick of seeing them.